What if your deepest, most buried memories suddenly played back, unedited and in vivid detail right before your eyes? Imagine not just recalling, but reliving moments you thought were lost forever, thanks to a tiny chip in your brain. This isn't science fiction anymore. It's what happened when my brain chip gave me an unexpected trip down memory lane. The procedure itself was surprisingly mundane. A sterile room, the low hum of machinery, a soft-spoken doctor explaining the benefits, enhanced cognitive function, instant data access, and as a side effect, improved memory recall. I signed up for the upgrade, the Cerebrum X implant, mostly for the productivity boost. I envisioned my work life becoming a seamless flow of information, my mind a perfectly organized database. I never, in my wildest dreams, anticipated it would become a private cinema for my subconscious. For the first few weeks, everything was as advertised. I could pull up research papers with a thought, learn new languages in days, and multitask in ways that felt superhuman. My memory was sharper, yes, but it was a controlled recall. I'd think about my 10th birthday, and the details would surface with crisp clarity. The taste of the chocolate cake, the slightly too big sweater my aunt knitted for me. It was like having a high-definition search engine for my own life. I was in control, or so I thought. The first glitch happened on a Tuesday morning. I was brewing coffee, thinking about nothing in particular, when my vision flickered. It wasn't a blur, it was a replacement. For a split second, the stainless steel of my kitchen was gone, replaced by worn floral wallpaper. I smelled mothballs and cinnamon. An old woman's hand, wrinkled and adorned with a simple gold band, was patting my own. I heard a voice, raspy with age, humming a tune I hadn't heard in decades. Then, just as quickly as it came, it was gone. I was back in my kitchen, the coffee pot gurgling, my heart hammering against my ribs. That was my grandmother's kitchen. She passed away when I was 6. I have no conscious memory of that wallpaper or that specific tune she was humming. But the chip had found it. It had played it back not as a memory but as a sensory experience. I initially dismissed it as a neurological hiccup, a side effect of the new tech settling in. But then it happened again. Walking through a park, a sudden flash of scraped knees on gravel, the sting of antiseptic, and my father's voice, younger and clearer than I remembered, saying, "You're a tough soldier, champ." It lasted maybe 3 seconds. These weren't the greatest hits of my life. These were the B-sides, the deleted scenes, the moments my conscious mind had deemed unimportant and filed away into the deepest, dustiest archives of my brain. The chip wasn't just recalling memories, it was broadcasting them directly into my sensory cortex. I was reliving them, the joy, the pain, the embarrassment. One evening, I was watching a movie when my entire reality was hijacked. I was 16 again, standing backstage at a high school play. The hot, dusty smell of the curtains, the knot of anxiety in my stomach, the face of my first crush smiling at me from the wings. It was a moment I'd completely forgotten, a tiny, insignificant blip. But the chip played it back in 4K resolution with full emotional surround sound. I felt the gut-wrenching, heart-stopping feeling of teenage infatuation so intensely that when I snapped back to my living room, my cheeks were flushed and my hands were sweating. What do you think? If you had this tech, would you be excited or terrified by the prospect of reliving forgotten moments like that? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. The playbacks started becoming more frequent, more vivid. They were triggered by the strangest things, a certain slant of light, a stranger's laugh, the taste of a particular brand of tea. My past was no longer a story I told myself. It was an ambush waiting around every corner. I saw myself as a toddler, taking my first steps and falling, not just seeing it, but feeling the jolt of the floor, the frustration, the determination to get back up. I experienced the profound boredom of a long car ride when I was 9, staring out the window, counting cows, a feeling so pure and complete I had no words for it. This led me to a high-stakes dilemma. This technology was revealing my own life to me in a way I never thought possible. It was showing me the building blocks of who I am, but it was also terrifying. What else was in there? What traumas had I suppressed? What secrets had my own mind kept from me? There were moments I didn't want to relive. The visceral grief of losing my first pet. The stinging embarrassment of a classroom failure. The chip didn't care about my comfort. It was an indiscriminate archaeologist, digging up everything, precious artifacts and human garbage alike. My perception of my own history began to warp. I always thought of my childhood as generally happy, but the chip showed me flashes of loneliness, moments of feeling misunderstood that my adult brain had glossed over. It also showed me moments of pure, unadulterated joy I'd completely forgotten, tiny little sparks that had been extinguished by time. My life wasn't the curated narrative I'd constructed. It was a chaotic, beautiful, messy, and sometimes painful mosaic. And now, I was being forced to look at every single tile. Have you ever had a memory resurface that completely changed how you saw your past? Smash that like button if you can relate to that feeling of rediscovering a piece of yourself. The most profound playback happened last week. I was meditating, trying to find some sense of control over the chaotic influx of data. Suddenly, I wasn't in my apartment. I was in a hospital room. The light was dim, the air thick with the smell of antiseptic. I was looking down at my own hands, but they were tiny. I was a baby, a newborn, and I was looking up at my mother's face. I didn't just see her. I felt her. I felt the overwhelming sense of safety, of warmth, of a connection so profound and primal it transcended language. I felt her love not as an idea, but as a physical force. It was the first memory, the very first one. A moment no one could ever consciously recall. It lasted for what felt like an eternity, a single perfect, unedited moment of pure being. When I came back, tears were streaming down my face. I wasn't crying from sadness or joy, but from a sense of overwhelming awe. That single memory, retrieved from the absolute dawn of my consciousness, recontextualized everything. Every struggle, every joy, every relationship. It was all built on that foundation of absolute, unconditional love. This chip, this terrifying, intrusive, wonderful piece of technology had given me the greatest gift. It hadn't just shown me my past, it had shown me my core. It had shown me where I came from. The dilemma I faced was no longer about control, it was about acceptance. Accepting the whole story, the good, the bad, the forgotten, and the beautiful. The lines between what's real and what's remembered have blurred, but maybe that's the point. Our past isn't a static museum. It's a living, breathing part of us. So, would I recommend the Cerebrum X? The answer is complicated. It's not a productivity tool. It's a journey into the uncharted territory of the self. It's a tool for radical self-discovery, but it comes with a price. The price is your privacy, your carefully constructed narratives, your illusion of control. You have to be willing to face everything you are, and everything you've forgotten you were. I have a question for all of you. If you could have one forgotten memory played back for you, what would you want it to be? Share this video with a friend and see what they would choose. My journey with this chip is far from over. Every day is a new discovery, a new piece of the puzzle of me. It's a daunting path, but for the first time, I feel like I'm walking it with my eyes wide open, seeing the full, unfiltered picture. And that is an upgrade worth having. Thanks for coming along on this trip down memory lane with me. If you want to see where this journey goes next, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I have a feeling things are about to get even more interesting. See you in the next one.